your window. Right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good Friday to all of you. So we shall start our session in a jiffy. Let's start with the Al-Fatiha recital. Amin. What we are going to do today, so first and foremost, welcome to our final series of the BL Casual Chat for Substitute Blended Learning. So we have three altogether. The first one was what is substitute blended learning. The second one was on how we can implement this in our courses. And the final one here today would be to sync or not to sync. And there is no try. So that means we have to plan ahead before actually implementing SPL into our course. So today's gist would be on whether or not we are going to try to adopt synchronous or asynchronous method of our course delivery. But this is not going to just have to focus on picking the right module or perhaps the right content, but we have to assess the overall course delivery. And later on, from just a 1 hour lesson, we are going to expand it further to 1 week. And of course, we're going to hopefully prepare for the whole semester. So this is the idea of having to prepare all your lessons according to the 40-40-20 proportion. So I'm going to go through what SPL is again and reassure you that it can be implemented systematically, yes. And then how is it going to be critically looking to the factors of the considered factors to implement all this in our course. Of course, incorporates your course materials, the course content, your slides, your videos. We're talking about the online component now. And then I'm going to talk about how we're going to assemble, okay, a bit like Avengers Assemble. How do we assemble our content into a good, can I say good? But that kind of phrase is saying that something which is considerably good and balanced teaching and learning activities. And last but not least, the third factor would be to investigate how we can plan for a good assessment right at the end of the lesson. And I'm also going to share with you of how we can prepare for our classes, the lessons. And in particular, there'll be something to look into. Perhaps all of you have been teaching for more than 2 years or 5 years or perhaps 10 years, but still we are kind of still in doubt whether or not certain topics in our class would be capable for us to deliver as an online component or online delivery. So let's proceed with the definitions and terms. So we know that when we say that we are going to do synchronous session, that means it speaks about having to have a real online learning, because we are going to speak about the online component now. So let's just bury whatever which is in the classroom for now. Then we're just going to concentrate on the 40-40-20. So that's the idea. We are moving into the substitute blended learning. Hence, we're going to have to plan thoroughly of what's next in terms of the steps. For the synchronous itself, so we are going to allow the instructor, us, the teachers, and the students to be at the same place. So for example, we are handling this particular session right now, real time, synchronous session. Is it face-to-face? So that is a different debate, because when we say it's online and I'm talking to you right now and interacting with you over the internet, that is considered online and synchronous. Is it face-to-face again? I believe it is face-to-face, but I won't go into deep or detail of that particular definition. As far as me concerned, when we say about online component, it must be handled, it must be conducted online. So that is the course delivery. And of course, we are going to allow ourselves to interact with the students, interact with the participants, for example, in live session, and also create an environment just like in the physical classroom. So that is synchronous, having it real time. But when we switch further to the asynchronous or asynchronous, that means it is not going to be real time. Of course, it's just the opposite. But for the learning to take place, we have to prepare more. And it's time consuming, yes. But for the students, they have the advantage of having to access the course materials at any time of their liking. And then they're going to be interacting with the instructors or the lecturers during the classroom time, which means that if they're going to meet you in the lecture, so they are free to discuss only after watching your videos or perhaps after reading some of the materials you have already provided. And that is going to set the discussion environment in the physical classroom. So that is something very familiar when it comes to having to teach with flipped classroom. So this method has something to do with our level 3. So you might want to use asynchronous at some particular point of your course. Perhaps there'll be some difficult topics, or you want the students to read first the materials for coming to class for discussion. So this is going to be the strategy that you're going to have to plan ahead. And of course, talking about the activities, what are the things that can be done if it to be asynchronous? You are not there, but the materials for the teaching and learning to take place, the activities, would be just simply by providing them ahead of time, meaning as easy as having a Padlet, or perhaps you're going to do some mind mapping, or you're going to allow them to attempt some discussion or forum, perhaps on Brighton. So those are regarded as teaching and learning activities. And of course, they're going to do this at any time without your control, but still in a confined Brighton platform, for example. So asynchronous is something that you do not actually have to be there for 24 hours, but it's up to the students to take control of their responsibility to learn, because often we are going to have some problems as well when it comes to the students who are not keen in having a synchronous mode in the class. We do have this kind of problem, yes, but how are we going to overcome this? We are going to plan to prepare some instructions, perhaps. So this is going to be a different topic. So today, we're just going to concentrate what would be the synchronous session, what would be the asynchronous session. So which one is going to be better employed in your classes? But actually, what I want to share with you, please interrupt me should you have any questions. Just feel free to unmute yourself should you have any burning question. So here, okay, so let's talk about the disadvantage and etc. So I'm going to skew a bit. Okay. It doesn't happen nicely sometimes, so I'm trying to just enlarge it. I hope it is okay. So we're talking about the advantages and the disadvantages. I hope it's big enough for you to see this. So just needing to recap. So there'll be some potential advantages and disadvantages, but of course our focus would be on the disadvantages. So we talk about the components online. Coming back to the series number 1, when I talk about the substitute blended learning, we've talked and agreed upon some percentage between the physical face-to-face interactions in the classroom. And then we are going to talk about the online components. So focus will be the online components. But when we say and strategize for degree programs, for example, we have limit the ceiling value up to the maximum 50%. Okay, your course, say for example, you're going to allocate 50% for the classroom activities in the classes, physical classes, and then you're going to allocate the rest of the 50% for the online component. But of course, when you want to strategize, there'll be some disadvantages, because if you allocate so much time, the amount that you prepare for the online components would not be balanced, or perhaps it's the wrong topic, and maybe there'll be some flexibility problem. So what kind of problems are we facing here? We're not talking about technical difficulty yet, but it's more of having to prepare for a uniform, a standardized format for everyone, every single students to catch up. So when they are going to cope, some of them are slow learners. Some of them are just going to say, oh, all right, so I've read all the articles, because they have speed reading skill, for example. And some of them are just going to struggle. So how are you going to make do out of it? So this is a bit of the human skill. You're going to allow for some time for them to prepare when it comes to asynchronous. And of course, when it comes to the advantage, we have seen that for synchronous, it's almost instantaneous feedback, meaning that you are there present during that time, and you can just have your students pose any questions to you during class time, and the answers are just going to be there, given it's going to be immediate feedback because you are there real time in the classroom. But when it comes to asynchronous, sometimes they're going to just have a trouble understanding some of the materials you have given, or perhaps they miss some important points, and you're going to ask them what are the key takeaways from watching the videos. So they are not very sure of what's going on. So this would be the problems arising when it comes to asynchronous, because you are not there to check whether or not they understand the materials, or to check whether they have completed watching the video. So these would be the potential problems. And of course, we notice that if it were to be online components, so most of the time, they're going to just watch the video alone, independently. You will never know when are they going to be watching in groups, okay, with your friends. Perhaps they just bring one computer and then get to the classroom, and then they're going to watch together your lecture videos in the classroom because it's online. But when it comes to having to watch a recorded video, I believe I can just watch this alone, and then that distracts and pull them away from their peers. So this is also a sense of no collaboration between themselves in the online environment. But we know we want to prepare for collaboration later, but of course, this would be the potential disadvantage. Okay. And sometimes, the video is too long, it's 1 hour. And most of the time when we say that we want to have asynchronous videos, we want it to be just short and sweet, perhaps 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So it's not going to be burdening the students to watch this and that. And just think about it. If you allocate like 50% of the online component, that means they're going to be struggling online all the time. And if you select it to be asynchronous all the time, then it's going to be just killing them students. So this is something, the factor that we need to consider. Okay. Right. So coming to that, I've already talked about the timing, and then the instructor-student interaction. So these are the things that we need to consider. I'm not so much into the technical difficulties, because we understand we have faced lots of problems with students without having their own device, without having the stable internet. So that's also an issue. But forget about infrastructure. We are talking about how we can prepare best for the students to learn. Okay. So feel free to stop me should you have any questions. Now, here is the gist of the day, actually, on the factors to consider when performing sync or async classes. If it were to be outcome-based education principle, your course must be designed in a way students at the end of the semester will be able to meet all the course outcomes. At the end of the day, the students will be able to analyze this and that. So with this in mind, you will have to consider which one is good enough or sufficient for an online delivery. Because sometimes it would be too technical, then you have to opt for a face-to-face delivery instead. But I'm saying that how about we're going to offer the students like tutorial videos, or perhaps if it to be English class, how to read, articulate, and how to do a summary, etc. So those can be just put on a slide, and then you're going to just record a simple video, and then they can watch them repeatedly. So this is also a strategy for you to think about which topics is going to be able to be online. And of course, remember, you are going to see them doing this alone, independently, and we have to think about their self-paced learning. And of course, not to forget, importantly, when it comes to online, provide instructions. So because when you leave them alone, unattended, especially not in the classroom anymore, so they're going to watch the videos alone. What am I watching? So prepare instructions, prepare some notes or steps or procedures. First, watch these videos. Next, try to find out what the speaker is talking about and make a summary. Put it on Padlet. Perhaps when you come or return to the classroom, we are going to discuss further on certain key takeaways. So these are the potential strategies that you can employ in your classroom if you select them carefully, because students tend to stray away from what is the main idea, or what is the main task given when it comes to watching videos. That is the content material, and we have to be very careful. But we don't have so much problem if it were to be teaching and learning activities, because they often know what's going on. They can always seek help from their friends. If it be Padlet collaboration, perhaps posting their ideas or their thoughts. Those are pretty straightforward. When it comes to something unattended and they're not guided, so this is where we have to find out how we can link them back to the learning outcome. So that's the most important thing about the learning outcomes here. Assess one of the factors important when you want to select or perform e-sync or sync. The course content itself is quite intriguing. Why? Because sometimes the nature of the course itself doesn't allow us to do it online. I'm not saying that maths courses or physics courses cannot be implemented online. Actually, it's best if they can repeatedly watch your videos to derive the equations or formulas. So this is where you're going to select which one is better for the students to attend online. And of course, as a result, you're going to see you need some multimedia content, interactive content perhaps, and allow them to collaborate in class, not only leaving them with the videos, they can interact with that video. So this is something that we are going to find out. And of course, regarding the instructor availability, because we're saying that most of the time you can select being synchronous. So like today, in the hope of everyone will not miss this kind of session, it seems like the recorded version would be of number 2. It would be nice if you can attend this live, because you're going to be able to have the opportunity to ask there and then. And this one would be the instructors present during that session. And of course, in order for us to remember the asynchronous, if we were to compare with synchronous, synchronous is better. But for e-sync itself, it would be wrapped again, the topic of discussion in the classroom. So when we do that, prepare a set of questions or perhaps some assignment for them, list them all for the students to come back to you when they have problem. So perhaps you're just going to be assign them videos, and then when they get back to class, you're going to ask, have you watched the videos? So what do you think? So people or students may not like it. So they must be given a set of instructions. So when we want to do asynchronous class or session, it's going to take more time if compared to synchronous. It's just setting up this Microsoft Teams, isn't it? And then I'm starting with some slides, and then I just simply talk away. Right. So far, so good? Okay.
Okay, Doctor.
Hi. Is there? Okay. Is that a question or is it a confirmation? An acknowledgement, perhaps?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. So let's look into this. What's that? Preparation for classes, sync or async. So the following steps would be to identify the three components, yeah? 40, 40, 20. So it must be balanced. But now think about, is it going to be async or is it going to be sync? Which one am I going to select? Because in the previous series, the second series, when we talk about how to plan, which one is which one. I plan like for week 4 and 5, I plan to have a synchronous session. So I'll go online, but it's not just like that. It must be planned nicely. Which one would be the recorded lecture? Do I need a recorded lecture? So ask yourself, or should you prefer to have an online session like this with your students? And of course, let's go to step 1. Find out about your course, analyze the course objectives and learning outcomes. It's important that everything will be tied back to your course objectives, the COs. Why? Because you're afraid that the students wouldn't be able to achieve that CO. And we might be wondering why we fill in that OBOs all the time at the end of the semester just to evaluate how we have performed. Can I say that? Or actually, how the student of ours performed. But it has something to do with how we deliver the course. And if you opt for 50% missing or online, then that means you're going to see a pattern. Okay, it must be simulated from one semester to another. And of course, you might be thinking it's a trial and error basis, but you have had enough of this time when you experimented during the pandemic, isn't it? So this would be to assess. My students did not know how to calculate this and that, so I'm going to emphasize on the calculation. What do? Prepare worksheets, prepare some online videos, prepare some tutorials, so activities online, and then prepare lessons for those who are involved in adaptive learning, level 4. Prepare flipped classroom. Read first, everyone. Do this worksheet, calculate later with me in the classroom. So you have some plans, but are you going to just convert everything into online? So this is the big why. And of course, so we are going to go into identifying the course content materials. So when we talk about this, okay, there are many ways that we can do things. You have to think about, or perhaps listing. You might have a paper with you, then start thinking, this is my course outline. Or perhaps a highlighter, which one would I want to convert online? Okay, so I have some reading materials, for example. So I'm going to think about how about offering the students sometimes to talk with their partners and do some class discussion. And then you're going to ask them to perform active learning. Up to you. There's so many strategies that you can think of, but have a careful boundary between these two. The delivery in the classroom will be live discussion. When it comes to asynchronous delivery, then they're going to do online reading and then they're going to extract the information. Up to you again. But is this necessary? Is this going to be somehow beneficial to the students if they do it this way, if opposed to doing it physically? So think about it. I believe the students will think about it. The acceptance level will be better if I do this in class instead of online. So think about it. So you have a few checklists. And later on, you have recorded lectures. And if it were to be video presentation, so you might be thinking, what is this? For the synchronous delivery, you have group presentation. So you're going to let them to be in groups, form their own groups, and they're going to present in the class. So that is synchronous. Is it going to be online? If you use Microsoft Teams, then it's going to be online. Again, let me remind you, we are just emphasizing on the online component. We are talking about the 40, 40, 20 possibilities. And of course, for the async delivery, you might be thinking, what kind of videos should I give to the students? It's going to be a maths problem, so it's going to be just practice. Electronics analysis problem, so they're going to practice all these V equals to IR and many more. And of course, with the latest technology trend, and of course, when it comes to digital learning centers subscribing to a few licensed tools or products. For example, Genially or perhaps Mentimeter. I believe not everyone, the academics, are entitled to it, but or have access to it. The course developers for the MOOC, MC, and ODL, they do have access, but you can always start with the free version. Give it a try. So just use the free eligible templates for you to use to pick on the topics of choice. And you're going to be surprised of how it can be helping you in your lessons. Number 3, evaluate the course teaching and learning activity. So you want to know which one works for the lectures, discussion, or is it good enough for the group work, individual work? Try to aggregate them nicely. Is this going to be the targeted audience? Is this going to be the linking back to the objectives? So evaluate how much are you going to willingly ask the students to concentrate on the materials. If it were to be offline, remember in the previous series number 2, I've talked about SLT, student learning time. So if you say that you're going to just post an assignment worth 6 hours of task or 6 hours of student learning times to complete, do simulation and then produce a report or have a group presentation. So is that going to be sufficient? Or is it going to be needing more time for the students to concentrate on? So think about it, assess the weightage for the students, because, hey, they're not just going to take your course, okay? They are just going to concentrate on other courses as well. So make sure that it is balanced. Right, but of course, there'll be an advantage as well. One thing for sure I've already considered, if it to be online, synchronous or asynchronous delivery, we're going to talk about feedback. Most of the time, if we do online quizzes or perhaps online assignment, it's going to be almost of convenient for us to return the submitted assignment in terms of feedback or comments, because on Brighton, there's plenty of room for you to write the comments, perhaps upload your feedback. And this is going to be part of the classroom management. It's very time saving and is most of the time efficient when it comes to handling the situation where students need the feedback ASAP, right? So always promise yourself, if it is too long of a task, you are asking them to write a report of 1,000 words. So add to it some of the time, the expected time for them to complete. It's just like the ordinary writing in SPM. You can still remember that. So allocate 500 words. So you are going to have like 1.5 hours to complete the whole essay, for example. So just think about how the students are going to tackle your assignment. So this is also part of the puzzles for the synchronous or selecting synchronous delivery. So often this is forgotten. You simply say that I wish to give you an assignment, but then I do not want to think about how you settle your assignment. I do not want to know how you get to completing the report. Yes, so this would be something for you to think about incorporating your student learning time as well. This is a must because students will be burdened with so much of problems when it comes to online delivery. So that is just simple to come to the classroom, attend your lecture, do their own notes, do their own note making, submit their assignments. But if it to be online environment, you have to add more time to it. They have to prepare. They have to give read through, skim through your work or given task. And later on, it gets you the assessment. So when it comes to preparation, a huge amount of time must be allocated for the students to prepare themselves for any kind of synchronous or asynchronous delivery. More time will be given if it would be asynchronous because you are not there. So ensure that you have supplied them with all the information vital for them to start and keep working. Okay, so those are the suggestions. And of course, here, Okay, determine the course assessment. So step number 4. Wow. Okay. Remember, everything is tailored back to the learning outcome. It tailors back to your student learning time. So it's very critical for us to fill in this basket, fill in the blanks with some thoughts. Am I giving too much work, or is it going to be okay for the students to handle? It's just like your final examination. If we have 1 hour test, for example, if you can do it in less than 1 hour, just triple that time for the students to attempt your test. So that is the key, the rule of thumb, especially when it comes to final examination. But in terms of quizzes, tests, or assignments or projects, we don't have any proper guideline to that, because every single students will have a different approach, different strategy in order for us to get them completed. For the quizzes, an amount of time to prepare. And for the test, just add a few hours. Assignments, stretch it across the week so that they have ample of time to understand the concept or theory behind there, or let them have some time to discuss with their friends and let them realize their mistakes, okay, during that time. So it is somehow the learning process that is going to be considered when it comes to online activity. And projects, one thing for sure, you do not suddenly bam, project tomorrow. You don't do that. Okay, so the project should be nicely rendered or planned right at the first week, at least. Inform the students we are going to have a project soon in week 6. That is week 1. Okay, so that they are prepared. Try to find group partners. Okay, and then spread it out into a few weeks. Get them prepared. Give them instructions and guidelines. Do not let them stray away. Pull them back. Get them back into where they're supposed to be. And ensure that do a progress check. Do not leave them just doing it alone. 3 weeks, for example, not asking any problems, difficulties in class. No, you have to keep on asking, is there anything that I can help you with? How's those simulation going on? Do you need any help with the report writing? So those are the time, okay, progressive time that you can check on for the projects to be completed. So again, this one for project, that is going to be a different type of assessment. So you know that they're going to have to invest more time in getting the project done or completed. So be wise. Think about which one is relevant to the online delivery. If it's not, scrap it away. If it were to be, say, for example, just a short quiz, multiple choice, okay, do it online. Okay, it's just testing on your understanding after every week, for example. Perhaps if it were to be something graded, then you have to plan for your quiz. If it to be on Brighton, 10 quizzes would be, 10 question per quiz would be sufficient. If it were to be a test, so I believe we have requirements at every college. For example, at the College of Engineering, we ought to do our test and conduct it physically. We don't do it online, but for quizzes, we could. But most of us, we love it to be just a physical test or assessment. Assignments is okay to be online because you might involve a simulation or it needs to be submitted over Brighton. So up to you. So when you want to choose which one is which one, so ensure that it can be done and it doesn't beat the purpose. Stick to the requirement of your accreditation bodies, because we have to be very careful when we want to handle substitute blended learning. We don't want to raise any query regarding of how you conduct your lessons. Not only about conducting the SBL. What is SBL without a proper course page? So that's also an interesting question when it comes to preparation or trying to move towards SBL implementation right in semester 1, 2023-2024. Okay, so there are plenty here, but I'm going to perhaps because the time is only 8 minutes after 11, I'm going to bring you to my LMS, because I myself is a pilot course for substitute blended learning, if you don't mind. So while I'm switching the windows, okay, do you have any question? Do you have any questions so far? I can see it on the chat. Oh, okay, that's all. Right, so this is the final part of the chat session. As such, I'm going to go to my Brighton course page. I'm not going to return to, maybe I'll just leave the generally there. Let me put in my password. Okay, so let me share my screen. Window. You see it? Okay. This one.
Yes, yes. Can
This
see.
is semester 2. This is pilot SBL course. I'm gonna touch on the synchronous and asynchronous. For information, my course is 70% physical, not really physical. Yeah, the online component is just 30%. Okay, based on calculation, the assignment I'm giving, some online quizzes, perhaps some lecture videos, because I've selected some of the videos for difficult topics. So this is how you implement it in one whole semester. So my course is data communication course. And what you can do, see that something is due today, which is my first assignment. The first assignment here is regarded as online. So this is an assignment which has been, it started in week 4 actually. So today marks the end of the assignment to be completed. Right. Okay. Or perhaps I can just brief you on my class plan or course outline. This is how it looks like for the course outline for an SBL. Okay. It looks so much like COE. Yes, of course. But which part is the different part? So this is the different part that I can actually show you. Okay. So we have a note here. What would be expected by the students? The reason why it needs to be done early of the semester. So this is a promise. This is a contract with the students saying that I'm expecting to have an online class in week 6, week 7, week 8, and week 9, for example. So I have to just put it there. Okay, in the case of I'm missing some of the lessons, I've already dictated to them. You are going to watch a recorded video to compensate for the public holiday, for example, because my classes was on 2 hours on Monday. So this is going to cost me so much. So I asked them to watch the video, but I have a following up session the next day. So this is how I handle the synchronous thingy. And of course, here it's written as face-to-face, yeah, but this one is online. So I put it in red so that they are aware which part is actually the online portion. Still going on face-to-face. Only this week. Is this week 6 still? Yes, because I had my exam. This is week 6. I've already gone online. Okay, this one. Week 7, week 6. Okay, so asynchronous recorded video, everything will be online. That is what I promised, everything online, because of this topic that requires so much of calculation, so that they are going to watch the videos repeatedly, do their assignment, or perhaps do their calculations online. So there'll be some practice thingy. Okay, when did I do this? Early of the semester, please remember that. Online is expected until week 10. Then back to face again. So this is how you strategize using your course page. So this is what I've already shared with the student. Okay, this is how it looks like. So week 1, Brighton course page is just a Brighton course page. Okay, so this is just complimentary videos for them to watch. They watch it or they don't watch it, is no problem at all. But it works when it comes to asking and calling them by names to catch up with what happens on the course. Yes, on the course page itself. So click here, week 1, face-to-face, right? already missed my class that particular week. Okay, activities. Remember we're talking about activities? So slides. And then you have your, of course, alternate slide, because I like to use a different, the more the merrier, more resources. And this would be the in-class activity. So I label it carefully, which class would it be representing? Because remember, your course page is a form of evidence to your teaching and learning. And just remember, we can audit your course page. So if it's the worst case scenario, it's blank, then you have to start doing something. Okay, so this is what happens in class. I did it using Menti. And of course, this is the lesson. So lesson will be online. Do I incorporate this in the student learning time for my plan for the online or asynchronous mode? This is asynchronous actually. I do not do this real time, but to some extent, some of the lecturers are doing the lesson in the classroom. So this is the synchronous mode. Okay, and you also have weekly quiz, assessment online, but this is not actually counted into their weightage. So this is like a complementary exercise for them to understand the material. When we move to week 2, what else do you see? More, okay, slides, content material, okay. In-class activity, they do this. Usually it's for 2-hour class, so I believe you can interact with them. This is the use of technology, but it is not regarded as online, okay? So this is collaboration between the students from one student to another, but using the tool, physically conducted, post it online. So it's using the online platform. Do not confuse yourself with, is this synchronous or is it asynchronous? No, this is using the tool. I was doing it in the classroom. Okay, so please remember that. How about this one? This one is infographics or interactive picture if you want to. Is this regarded as synchronous or synchronous? Myself is not present to teach the student. They're just going to be there and just have themselves learn during their sweet time. So this is interactive component, asynchronous. Is this counted? Perhaps it's counted when they want to prepare for the assessment. So partially in the 30% of the online component. Remember 40, 40, 20. This is assessment? No, this is just some course content or material. Right? Again, I taught them about the client-server relationship, so they're just free to do whatever they want. Again, content material. Okay. Yep. Remember, we're talking about the online mode. So I clearly label it as asynchronous session. Why? Because at the moment they're seeing asynchronous means they have to take up their responsibility to watch the videos. Would there be an introduction or somehow a written instruction given to them? This one is given in Telegram. Please read this material. I make it a habit because often the class notice doesn't work. So we use the Telegram communication channel to illustrate this, into convey the information. Students, I've prepared a video for you to watch. So this is content material. Is it asynchronous or synchronous? I don't see them. So this is asynchronous. So label them carefully. Is it part of the 40, 40, 20? Yes, 40% of the course material online. So this is the thing when we want to illustrate the asynchronous. So this part, I choose it to be asynchronous. Okay, which part is the online? Okay, let's fast forward. You don't want to see everything, right? Asynchronous still, but it is of complementary. Why? Because remember, I missed a few Monday classes, so I strategize. Give them all the videos for them to watch, but it's just short videos, like 5 to 10 minutes each. And of course, Coming back to class, returning to class, when I see them, I'm going to just discuss what happens with the videos. Anything that you need to highlight, often I'll just do a summary in classroom after they watch the videos. So this would be how it works with asynchronous, because you're not letting them alone doing it, but you're going to recap, you're going to provide the summary when they return to class. Remember, it was week 6, if I'm not mistaken. Provide them tutorial video if you are dealing with simulation, yeah? Okay. Pictures. This thing. Provide them with e-workbook, for example. So those are going to be regarded as asynchronous material, part of the 40%. Okay. And this one, mind you that, remember just now I posted a lot of asynchronous, meaning they have to watch these videos and then we're going to recap. This time around, it is not asynchronous. It is indeed online session using Microsoft Teams. So that is regarded synchronous. Is it part of the 40%? Yes, it's the course material, lecture videos, recorded, edited, and uploaded. So this is what we are going to just have. And then next week, I'm going to do the same case because I have the same method of delivery. Deliver it synchronously. It's just an ordinary Microsoft Teams lecture. And then I'm going to convert it, upload it to Panopto. And then I just put a date there to refer to what the classes was about. So that is the thing that we distinguish from asynchronous, or is it going to be synchronous? Recorded video lectures, or is it going to be asynchronous for you to watch first and then come back to class to discuss? So this is the online component. So after careful considerations using the template in series 2, what we can see is that although you thought that you have so much videos involved, but yet it's just going to take up only 25 to 30% of the online components. So you might be surprised. And this is the wonderful thing about using the template. You do not want it to be too much carrying online components. You still want to, remember, get hold of your physical classrooms as well. Do not have any imagination, or perhaps you might have some intention, okay, intention of converting everything into online just so that you are not going to have to step into the classroom. So this is something I'm curious about because some lecturers do not have any time for themselves to prepare, perhaps just convert your class suddenly 2 minutes before the class actually takes place. In the physical classroom, the students were waiting for you to come in, but later on you suddenly switch it to an online lecture. So this is something that we want to avoid. Careful planning must be from the early of the semester. That is what the SBL is all about. It's not about trying to cover up your weakness in planning, but it's more of the intention of having a balanced and providing structured kind of lesson delivery, as well as what you promise to the students so that they can have independent learning. And in a way, they can collaborate with their friends as well, but given enough time for them to perform their independent learning with affordable or something which is, you know, your student learning time that has been taken into consideration. You might want to go to conference tomorrow. Oh, suddenly I went for outstation. No, that is not the reason why you do substitute blended learning. The substitute blended learning is meant for us to substitute, okay, whenever that we feel that this is the best course delivery. It's nothing to do about compensating that you're not going to be here, okay, in campus, and then you started to say to the students, let's have online lecture. So this is truly maybe problematic if you do not realize how much it will impact the students' performance. You have to really consider the students' time. You really have to look into your learning outcome. And of course, if you carefully plan it, You are the best. You are the expert of your courses, right? So this would be the avenue for you to start thinking which one is best suitably delivered using online delivery. So I've chosen mine. My subject for this network layer is the most difficult topic because it involves calculation. It involves tracing here and there, simulation. So I decided to only focus on this topic for the online conversion. So that's how I do it. And I realized if it were to be your course, it might be different. Sometimes it needs this particular topic to be stressed on. Somebody else might have a different topic to be emphasized on. So this would be the variations we're expecting. After all, you have the leeway to have this implemented. You have for degree courses up till 50% to convert to online. When I say convert, be careful on what you're going to convert. Be selective because not all is going to be properly converted or delivered nicely. And of course, when it comes to the students themselves, they will feel that if you design the course nicely, if you design the course from the start, then they'll start seeing why you're doing the SBL. So there'll be some pilot courses doing it now, implementing the SBL, and we should come to conclusion at the end of the semester when we do a review. And I'm going to share it with you of how we can have it implemented. Whether it's successful or not, it is still a long way to go, isn't it? We haven't reached our semester break. So 5 minutes left before we end the session. I'm now opening to Q&A if you do have any. So I'm opening the questions to the floor. Should you have any questions? Okay, so as a word of a reminder, please fill in the evaluation form for the session. So let me just share with you, this shall be the last session for the BL Casual Chat series on SBL, okay, Substitute Blended Learning, because next week I'm going to start to reinforce our enhanced learning level 2, because we found that some of the lecturers are still needing a push, okay, or some support in order for them to get to be a level 2. Okay, the right understanding is of critical. Okay, any more questions? And any questions so far? I believe you are very well versed with the synchronous and asynchronous mode, but sometimes you might be carried away with the definitions. Don't worry about the definitions. The term here being used is that if it's online, you do it online, then it is regarded as online component. But if you are doing online, is it going to be synchronous or is it asynchronous? So that would be the percentage that you have to think about, because out of the percentage that you have, then you're going to just aggregate them into 40% of the content material. 40% of the course teaching and learning activities must be done online, and also the course assessment. It can be quiz online, assignment online, use quizzes, use Panopto, up to you. Be creative with the tools, but later everything is confined towards that 40-40-20 proportion. Okay?
Dr. Jamie, wish to check with Dr. Jamie or maybe the TLC whether the participant for this chat series will be given a certificate, because up to now there was no certificate given.
Okay, thank you, Miss Betty. I'm I'm in a no position of okay, to promise you whether we do have a certificate or not. I believe TLC, we always prepare a certificate of attendance, okay, for participation. Please be patient, okay, because we are also handling some other workshops, the one with the Prof. Karim. Yep, so it's in the pipeline. Just remind us if we forget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Betty. Any more question? If it's not regarding the evaluation form, anything? We have 2 more minutes before we end our session. Ah, what's that? I saw something blinking, but I'm not sure what it is. Hello there. Is that a hand? No more question? Good students. You always have that when it comes to online session, don't you? Okay.
Dr. Jahana, ada satu soalan.
Ya, doktor.
Okey, saya nak
Doktor
tanya.
Nurbaya. Ya.
Okey, maksudnya kalau dia ada kaitan tak dengan polisi universiti untuk adakan kelas secara online ke secara face to face untuk lecturer decide sama ada subjek tu adalah sesuai untuk synchronous ataupun asynchronous class or activities. Ke macam mana tu?
So Doktor is
Sebab sekarang
asking
kan
whether we do have a policy regarding the class to be conducted online or physical.
yes.
Okay, so let me share with you. Okay, just a quick 1 minute. The plan is we are going to move forward with this substitute blended learning. So when it comes to substitute blended learning, this is would be on top of the blended learning we are doing. Already, we know that some parts can be done online in our classes, the lectures or assignments, but there's no policy just yet saying that you're going to be able to convert all of your lectures, etc., into online. Else, you should have developed your micro-credential, or you should have been called to attend the ODL courses, the course development, because that is the online portion by the Digital Learning Center. In terms of the direction of the university is we are moving forward along with the IPTA to have these portions of online components, but only capped at 50%. Okay, how you do it? You're going to use that guideline. We have already circulated the SBL guideline. So nobody's going to push the course, your subject, to be more than 50% to be delivered online. Okay, it's just staying until 50%. I remember getting a question from Dr. Nur Aziza, if I'm not mistaken, from the previous chat session. The thing is that we might have some issues when it comes to the accreditation bodies. There might be some major course review or major program review, but surely it doesn't say so much about having to overwrite anything in terms of the course delivery. It's just dictating something. This one will be delivered how? How is it going to be delivered? It's going to be online. It's just on your course outline. And then something to do with the SLT. Every single program must have its own calculation, I believe, when it comes to at the program level. Then we know that we're not overburdening the students. So a kind of a control there for the situation. But I don't say that we do not have to come up with a circular soon. That is also going to be considered because already sometimes our lecturers are doing more online classes if compared to physical classes, although the management of the college says something about, hindering them to do so. So this is, I believe, is part of the thing that we need to discuss at the TLC level, at the university level. Thank you for the question, Dr. Nurbaya.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's all for now. It's already 2 minutes past 11:30. No, 11:32. Okay, so thank you for joining us with this session. So I believe all the recorded sessions will be available soon with the slides, and that's going to be recapping the casual chat for substitute blended learning. So I have...
Doktor, ada soalan Dr. Azrul sikit tu, percentage dekat Brighton tu.
Ya, okay. Apa maksud kosong ni? Kenapa ni? Oh, Dr. Azrul, this one, course outline lecture notes ada reading materials 0%. This one is actually the students' progress bar. Students looking at it. Okay, you have to click on it and then it's going to be the expanded view. Some lecturers, they love to do this. I mean, they put it as what do you call it? A closed view, and then there'll be an open view, windowing like this. So most of the time, I just leave mine, open so that they don't miss any detail. And this one, the 0% here marks the students' progress with the materials. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Don't be alarmed when you see 0%, meaning the student hasn't actually accessed that materials. I trust that the materials are in there. Okay, it's just that students hasn't gone into watching your materials yet. So more on this later in the LMS workshop series, okay, coming soon. Anything more? Okay, so I'll post the the link to Janelli just now to the chat section. And then I think that's all. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a blessed Friday, everyone. And let's head for the last week before the semester break. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.